We're talking about the decisions, the changes, the updates that made gamers rage quit in unison. This is the story of the most controversial decisions in gaming history. All right, let's kick things off with a topic that's sure to get those thumbs twitching. Microtransactions, those tiny little purchases, often for cosmetic items or in-game currency, that have become as ubiquitous in gaming as jump scares in horror movies. Now, on the surface, a few extra bucks here and there might seem harmless, right? But what happens when these microtransactions start to affect gameplay, progression, even the very fabric of the game's balance? That's when things get dicey. Take, for example, this game, a supposedly full-priced AAA title, was absolutely riddled with microtransactions. We're not just talking about buying a new jersey for your MyPlayer. No, we're talking about essential gameplay mechanics being locked behind paywalls. Want to improve your player's stats? Better whip out that credit card. The backlash was swift and brutal. Gamers felt cheated, and rightfully so. They had paid for a complete gaming experience only to find themselves nickeled and dimed at every turn. The debacle sparked a larger conversation about predatory monetization in the gaming industry. The debate over microtransactions is far from over, but one thing's for sure: the power lies with the players. Next up, we're blasting off into the vast expanse of space to explore the curious case of... Now this game, oh boy, this game had a launch that could rival the Challenger disaster in terms of sheer, unadulterated chaos. See, before launch was hyped to the moon and back. It promised a universe of possibilities, procedurally generated planets, endless exploration and multiplayer interactions. You name it. Gamers were practically frothing at the mouth, ready to lose themselves in this seemingly infinite digital playground. Then, launch day arrived, and the hype train crashed and burned harder than a meteor shower in a fireworks factory. The game was riddled with bugs, the promised features were either missing or broken, and the grand interconnected universe felt empty and lifeless. The backlash was immediate and brutal. Gamers felt lied to, betrayed by the very developers who had promised them the universe. But here's where the story takes an interesting turn. Instead of abandoning ship, the developers at Hello Games rolled up their sleeves and got to work. Slowly but surely began to resemble the game it was always meant to be. The story is a testament to the power of perseverance, a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming negativity, it's never too late to turn things around. Chapter 3: Star Wars Battlefront 2: The Loot Box Uprising. From the depths of space, we journey to a galaxy far, far away, where a war is being waged not with lightsabers and blasters, but with loot boxes and microtransactions. This battle is not fought in the stars, but in the digital arenas of our favorite video games. That's right, we're talking about Star Wars Battlefront II, a game that found itself at the center of a controversy so big it reached the halls of government. The uproar was so intense that it sparked debates and discussions far beyond the gaming community. Picture this: you're a Star Wars fan, hyped beyond belief to step into the shoes of your favorite heroes and villains. The anticipation is palpable as you imagine the epic battles and adventures that await you. You shell out your hard-earned cash for Battlefront 2, eager to experience the thrill of galactic combat. The excitement builds as you unbox the game, ready to dive into the Star Wars universe. But then, you hit a wall, a paywall to be precise. This isn't just any wall, it's a barrier that stands between you and the full experience of the game you paid for. You see, Battlefront II was designed with a progression system deeply intertwined with loot boxes. These loot boxes were not just optional extras, they were a core part of the game's mechanics. These loot boxes, containing everything from cosmetic items to powerful weapons and character upgrades, were essentially randomized rewards that you could either earn through gameplay or purchase with real-world money. The allure of these boxes was strong, promising, rare and valuable items. The problem? The grind to earn these loot boxes through gameplay was excruciatingly long, designed to incentivize players to skip the line and buy their way to power. This created a pay-to-win scenario that frustrated many players. The backlash was swift and merciless. Gamers took to social media, forums and news outlets to voice their outrage. The community was united in its condemnation of the game's monetization practices. The controversy caught the attention of lawmakers who saw Battlefront 2's loot box system as a form of gambling. particularly predatory towards younger players. This led to calls for regulation and oversight in the gaming industry. The Star Wars Battlefront 2 loot box scandal sent shockwaves through the gaming industry. It forced developers and publishers to rethink their approach to monetization and player engagement, marking a significant moment in the history of video games. Chapter 4. Loot boxes, harmless fun or gambling gateway. Now, let's dive deeper into the heart of the loot box debate, a controversy that has divided gamers, sparked legal battles, and forced the industry to confront some uncomfortable truths. This issue has not only captured the attention of players, but also regulators and lawmakers around the world. Are loot boxes just a harmless bit of fun, a way to add excitement and surprise to our gaming experience? For many, the thrill of opening a loot box and discovering what's inside can be a delightful part of the game, adding an element of unpredictability and joy. Or are they a manipulative form of gambling, designed to exploit our psychological vulnerabilities and drain our wallets? Critics argue that the mechanics of loot boxes are eerily similar to those of traditional gambling, preying on the same impulses and behaviors. The answer, as with most things, is nuanced and complex. It's not just a black and white issue, there are many shades of grey to consider. On the one hand, loot boxes can be seen as a natural evolution of the collectible card game model, a way for developers to monetize their games and provide players with a sense of progression and reward. This model has been around for decades and has been widely accepted in various forms of entertainment, but here's where things get murky. The line between fun and exploitation can be thin and often blurred. The psychological design of loot boxes, often employing flashing lights, celebratory animations, and addictive reward loops, shares striking similarities with slot machines and other forms of gambling. These elements are carefully crafted to keep players engaged and spending money. They tap into our brain's reward centers, triggering the release of dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and addiction. This biochemical reaction can create a powerful compulsion to keep opening loot boxes, chasing that next big win. This is where the concern arises. The addictive nature of loot boxes can have serious implications, especially for vulnerable individuals. For some individuals, particularly younger players with developing brains, loot boxes can become a gateway to problem gambling. The impact on young minds can be profound, leading to long-term issues with gambling and financial management. The thrill of the chase, the desire to obtain that elusive item, can lead to excessive spending and, in some cases, addiction. Stories of players spending hundreds or even thousands of dollars on loot boxes are not uncommon. The loot box controversy highlights the need for greater transparency and ethical considerations in game design. Developers and publishers must balance monetization strategies with the well-being of their players, ensuring that games remain a source of enjoyment rather than a potential hazard. Chapter 5. Censorship in games. Where do we draw the line? From the murky depths of loot boxes, we emerge into a new battleground, one where pixels clash with principles and where the very act of creation collides with the complexities of cultural sensitivity. This battleground is fraught with challenges, as developers strive to push boundaries while respecting diverse audiences. This, my friends, is the minefield of censorship in video games. It's a place where every decision can spark debate and where the line between right and wrong is often blurred. Games, like any form of art, reflect the world around us, warts and all. They are mirrors to our society, capturing both its beauty and its flaws. They explore themes of violence, sexuality, politics, and everything in between. These themes are not just for shock value, they often serve to tell deeper stories and provoke thought. But what happens when these depictions cross a line, when they offend, disturb, or incite controversy? The impact of these moments can be profound, leading to heated discussions and even calls for bans. Where do we draw the line between artistic freedom and the need to protect certain values or beliefs? This question is at the heart of the censorship debate, challenging us to consider the role of games in society. The debate over censorship in games is a thorny one, often pitting developers against governments, cultural watchdogs, and even their own players. Each group has its own perspective, making consensus difficult. Some argue that games should be free from censorship, that any attempt to restrict creative expression is a slippery slope towards tyranny. They believe that creativity should know no bounds. Others believe that certain content, particularly graphic violence or sexually suggestive material, has no place in video games, especially those marketed towards younger audiences. They argue for responsible content creation. The examples are numerous and often controversial. Each instance adds fuel to the ongoing debate, highlighting the complexities involved. The debate over censorship in games is further complicated by the global nature of the industry. Different cultures have different standards, making a one-size-fits-all approach impossible. The key, as with most things, lies in finding a balance that respects creative freedom while acknowledging the need for sensitivity and responsibility. Outrow, the future of gaming, our controllers, our choice. So there you have it, a glimpse into the tumultuous world of controversial gaming decisions. The power ultimately lies with us, the players.